Now, right now, Dane, we have a demonstration lined up for the.
Well, we just had an earthquake here.
Oh, really?
10 minutes ago, yep.
Oh, nice.
I looked, they shook my cameras around. I felt it in my feet.
Wow.
And I looked it up. It is center about 40 miles east of me and is registered at 5.0 on the Richter scale. So,
wow.
Center near Big Pine. If any of you guys are familiar with the Eastern Sierra Mountains in that area. In between here and Death Valley, put it that way.
So you might have another one in a minute.
I don't know if we'll feel the aftershocks here. 5.0 is, we get those like every 3 months through here. So it's kind of normal, but exciting nonetheless when you hear things shaking in the shop, you know, you're like, oh, what the heck? All right, so bowl turning, yeah. Okay, this is a sort of like a bowl design type of demo. All the, you know, different designs you can create for your demos and stuff. And first I want to clarify a couple things about what constitutes a bowl versus a vessel versus a dish. As you can see on my chart here. The definition of a the definition of a bowl is the mouth is wider than the depth. That's the definition of a bowl. Definition of a vessel is the opening is narrower than the depth. In other words, the depth is deeper than the width. And the dish is pretty much a flat bottom type of thing. That's what's considered a dish. And I've got some samples here for that. Ooh. Now this would be a typical vessel. You can tell it's much taller than it is open on the top side. It sort of looks like a goblet, but it is considered a vessel. Now this is the first bowl I ever made back in September 20th, 2000. Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I took some classes with a local person that was really well known in wood turning circles in California. Unfortunately, he's passed on. Really nice guy, and I used to drive up to his shop up in Three Rivers, up in the foothills of the Sierra Nevada mountains. He had the shop of all shops. He went crazy stuff. But this was the first bowl, and when he let me say, when it was time, the first thing he taught me was how to use a skew chisel of all things. He put a block of 4x4 redwood fence post in his lathe and showed me how to use a skew with it. So that was all interesting. And now we get to more detailed designs. So you can see here, this is an OG curve on the outside. And I pretty much followed the same pattern on the inside, which you can do using calipers and whatnot, make sure the thickness is the same all the way through. A little bit heavier on the bottom, so it, you know, it gives it a little weight there. And let me see here. Let me grab a natural edge. Now, these are natural edges. You can see the edges flare out a little bit, which is makes it a natural edge look more natural edge than totally a round bottom. It gives it more of a look that it's right off the tree. And this piece here is a lot more of a detailed flare on it. And I also put stitching in it. Oh, let me turn it around. There we go. I took a class with Jerry Komoda a while back, and he showed me how to do all this. So that was really a fun class to take. And then you got the large bowls. So I'll just show one of those that I've got. This is a maple burl bowl.
Pretty.
And it's got a completely round bottom on it. It's no foot.
That is gorgeous.
It can roll around. It's pretty well balanced when it's sitting on the table. But I also made a small pedestal for it to sit in. That way it allows me to like tilt it a little bit so you can see the inside when it's sitting on the shelf.
Nice.
Like that. So there are all kinds of different design opportunities. So I was gonna go as quickly as I can and slide this stuff back out of the way. I'm gonna make a bowl with a rim that kind of curves inward. To get the stuff moved. It's gonna be a small bowl, nothing big. Let me move my headstock over to where you guys are gonna be able to see it a little better in the camera here. See that pretty good, I think, yeah. I pretty much rounded everything already and also put a, oh, that moved on me there. I also measured the size for the tenon. And I rounded over this and I flattened this face off already, save some time during the demo. First thing I want to do is just start rounding over this edge here, doing some pull cuts. Got me a 5/8 bowl gouge here. Hopefully this wood isn't as hard as I think it might be. The piece of ash and some of the pieces I got out of the tree were nice and easy to cut, and some of them are hard as a rock. So we'll see how this goes real quick. First thing I want to do is I'm just going to take that corner off. Yeah, let me see if I can get an overhead 5 feet going here. There we go.
Nice angles.
Pull cuts, I mean from the side of this, the side of the swept back rind there to do the cuts. I've got it almost at 90 degrees, but not quite. And it seems to be cutting really well, so this should go pretty quick. Round over that corner a little bit. Starting to create somewhat of a shape on the bowl. Now what I need to do is I need to move my tool rest a little bit here. You want to make sure that your tool rest is at the right angle when you're doing these cuts, so ensure you move it when you need to. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to swing this around where it's sitting here and raise it up a little bit. I'm going to use my parting tool to start that tenon in. Trying to decide whether I should do a internal or, well, let's just do a tenon since I'm already set up for that. So I'm just taking my parting tool straight in. The wood is a little tough, that's why it's sounding that way. I'm using a Talon cut with a straight line, straight jaw, so I don't need to make a dovetail on this candy. I'm cutting the tenon now so I can get the general shape of the bowl going. Tune up that edge there a little bit. All right. Now we can come back and start taking away a lot of this wood really quick. And then lower my tool rest just a hair. With experience, you'll learn that the when and what position your tool rest should be in and the height. A lot of times you could tell just by the way the cut's sounding and acting. I got all that wood taken away. These are all just roughing cuts. I'm just gonna swing this back around again and start giving more shape to the bowl. I'm just going to do some push cuts here, sort of like manipulate a lot of this at once. And you can see the shape. Coming on a little bit of shutter shape. We're going to come back and clean all that mess up. I'm getting the general shape is what I'm looking for here. The reason why I jumped is I got too far off the tool rest with this, the overhang there. I need to move my tool rest in closer. And I do want to make this area flat right here. So I'm going to grab me a spindle gouge. Okay. Yeah, pretty easy to do this with. And I'm going to just bring this in right on the tenon here. Just flatten this area out. About the only time I'll use a spindle gouge on a bowl. Clean that up. Make this area flat, and then I'm going to grab my parting tool again and just flatten out that tenon a little better. You want to make sure that that shoulder right here is nice and flat. That's where your jaws are going to sit. If you got any little hill or something, it's going to throw your weight off, because most of the jaw support comes from this flat area. I mean, the gripping, I mean, you could have a really small tenon on here. As long as that area is flat, you're much better off than having a large tenon. Also, make sure you don't make the tenon so deep that it bottoms out in the jaws. It's a very important thing to do. I've seen a lot of new turners, they think they need to make a real deep tenon, and when they put it in the jaws and clamp it down, it's resting on the bottom of the jaws and the face of the jaws are not touching this area, which is what you really need to have happen. So I'm taking a little bit of a lighter cut here, get my shape a little bit more rounded. What I might do here is I'm just going to stop here. What I might create here on the top here is a nice little B that goes into the rim of the bowl. That's a design opportunity. And now I'm just going to do some shear scraping here, clean up all these tool marks. And I'm dropping the handle down. And let me see if I can get a better picture. Oh, I'm dropping the handle down there. Switching cameras. Okay. Whoa, we got to pop up on this. Screen. Let's get a side view of this. All right, yeah, you guys will be able to see how I'm dropping the handle down, like way down here. If you look in this little box right there. And I'm just dropping it down, and I've got it right, the tool resting right in my thigh and my leg here. And I'm using my body just to swing around. And I'm still getting a little bit of a roughness there, so I might try a smaller gouge, which would probably help with that. I'm grabbing my 3/8 here, do the same kind of cut. Almost 90 degrees or 9 o'clock on a clock face here. Yeah, that's cutting much better.
Making angel hair.
Oh yeah, if you got your tools sharpened right, you have no problem making these little angel hairs as long as you're doing a light cut, which is what all you need for doing a shear scrape like this. And I can see where, you know, dark lines and where it's dipped down a little bit. And the tool isn't leaving that big of a, or that good of a cut. I'm going to stop it and have a feel with my hands. Your hand can really tell you how smooth that is. So I got a pretty good sized bump right here. So I'm going to come back and just do a small push cut right here. The rest of this mostly can come out with sanding. I know it looks a little rough, but if I start with 180 and do some power sanding, that would come right out. But I do need to take that little bit of a hill that's right here. So I'm going to bring my tool back around. I don't know if you guys can see this. Go back overhead here. Yeah, there you go. So about 45 degrees. I'm just going to start with the bevel rubbing, and then it's going to bring it into the cut. Bring the tool around. There we go. Really light feathery cut there. Look at how much got that done. And you can see how the bevel kind of polished the wood right there. So I'm going to come back with my small bowl gouge. I'm just going to clean up this bead a little bit here, see how we can do that here. It's more or less no different than making a bead on a spindle, really. Using a gouge, just bring it in and just bring in your, raise it up until it starts cutting. And you just do kind of a twist and turn right into the cut there. Up that area right there where it's going down. And the same thing on this side. When we reverse turn this to the inside, we can clean this up a bit more. I'm going to make sure I got a nice little detail that goes in right there. And if I was to touch this with some sandpaper, it'd be all nice and clean. So I'm not going to go through the sanding steps because that's a whole nother demo. I'll tell you, that's a big, that could last 2 hours just on talking about sanding and then some. So I'm just going to reverse turn this, and we can do the inside. And I'm going to, I did use a screw drive for this. Sometimes I put the piece between centers. As you can see, I got the hole right there for my screw center. Right in the jaws there. And before you mount your piece onto a screw center, always, if you're going to use calipers to measure your tenon first, do that before you mount your piece. Many times I haven't not done that. So I just leave a little bit of a gap there. These are nice straight jaws, serrated jaws, so it'll clamp down really well on this. Let's see how well that's turning. Give it a spin. Looks like it's running really true there, so I'm going to tighten this down a little bit more. What we want to do is we just want to start working on the inside here. I'll show you how I go about pretty much making any bowl, any size. So what we have is, here, a lot of wood turners, they start turning their bowls from the center out. But what I've learned from taking classes with various professional wood turners is that the larger the bowl, the more deflection that's going to create as you get further and further into this, to where when you get to the final thickness of the rim you want, the bowl when it's spinning is oblong, just because of the RPMs and the stresses that you release by cutting all this wood away. And that's why when you get to that point, if you cut your bowls that way, you'll hear that distinct sound. Well, that's because the rim isn't exactly right. It's not even. And there's no way you're going to be able to even it out once you take all this wood out. The more you keep cutting, the more it's just going to get worse and worse. So what I like to do is I take my parting tool and I will judge pretty much where I want the thickness to be. And this will allow me to get my tool in there and start the cut without it skating back. And because I'll be working on the rim on the outside here, and all this wood is still in there, the stresses haven't been released yet, and your rim will stay evenly the same thickness. So. These are the 3/8 bowl gouge here. And it's got the bevel on it is 55 degrees. There's a lot of talk about the new 40-40 grind, but what I've discovered with that is that's good to a point, but then once you get to a certain point, because it's 40 degrees, your tool's going to start hitting the rim, and you're not going to be able to take a cut all the way to the bottom. So I like to be able to take my cuts all the way to the bottom without having to go get have another bowl gouge with a different bevel on it, and then what they call a bottom feeder bowl gouge to, finish off the bottom. Having a bowl gouge with this kind of a grind on it, like I have, between 55 and 60, it allows you just to go all the way to the bottom of the bowl. So I'm going to bring my handle around and pick up that cup and bring it on. You can also see that I'm leaving steps. The reason for that is it's leaving that mass in the bowl. Cuts down on the vibration big time and makes the whole bowl more stable while you're creating the inside of it. So now I'm just going to start taking down here. I just turn the tool back around here, pick up that cut. And one more. If you turn that badly, it's the last step and you might get a catch. This wing might catch that last step you created, so you want to stop before you get to that point. Now what you could do is you can either go across this way to get rid of the steps. What I like to do is much safer and less stress on your lathe overall is just do push cuts inward towards your headstock. And it helps cut down the vibration when you make these types of cuts. Like that. There will be some point where you can't reach all the way down in there to do this stuff. And that's when you'll just come back to this way. You can flatten that out. Now you see it coming in the side. Now I'm just gonna start making steps again. Now that I got rid of all of it. See if I can zoom in a little bit better so you guys can see if those cuts happen a little closer. There we go. Oh, here we go. Lay towards the bottom. Then we're gonna come back around here and we're gonna just get that cut. Not quite at the rim. I'm in there about half an inch before I pick it up. Then I'm going to stop my lathe. I'm going to check the thickness now. So I can tell by the sound I'm getting kind of thin there. I'm grabbing a pair of calipers here. Let's see what we're at. Oh, it gets a little bit thicker there. So I can pick up my cut right about there is where I want to pick it up. Before I go any further though, I'm going to clean up this little bee that I started creating where too much wood is gone. I'm going to bring my tool rest back around. Start bringing the tool in like that, just swing it around. About that point there, and then I'm going to bring it back the opposite way here. And I'm just going to give it a twist and a push. And I'll probably grab my little detail spindle gouge here to help clean that up. Oh, I got a small bow gouge up here. This is a very small bow gouge. You guys can see there, and go with the overhead here. I think it's like 3/8, no, 3/8, about 1/4 inch actually, somewhere in there. You're gonna do some really light cuts with this and get some nice details with a small bow gouge like this. You can get down in those small spots that you otherwise couldn't with a larger bow gouge. Look, I got a catch. I shouldn't have done that. What I did is I pulled my tool back without pulling it forward towards me, and it caught. And the catch doesn't look too bad. Let me stop and see if I gouged anything out. No little gouges out of it there. So I'm just going to come in here and just kind of round this over a little bit, and then sandpaper would clean up the rest of this. I'm just going to come in and just clean up that little knot right knot, just a little knot right in there. All this could be cleaned up with some sandpaper to make it more round. So what I want to do is bring my tail stock back around. And we're going to finish up that bottom there. And I am a little high for what I need, so I'm going to lower it. My tool rest a little bit. What I want to do is when I'm cutting, what's going to happen is I'm going to start here about halfway in, about half inch in. And you'll see my tool rest come up like an arc. The bowl gouge. And then it's kind of towards back to the face. That
Can you
makes
flip
a-
your,
you know,
Scott, can you flip your camera angle?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, it's okay.
There we go. Sorry about that. Get going, I sometimes forget.
Oh, I know what it's like.
We're just gonna put down all these steps. Over, I think I need a larger bowl gouge in there. Let me grab me a freshly sharpened one here. All right, here we go. That my wing actually caught that step, which was a mistake. You need to come in and just gently start that cut. This bowl gouge has the same type of grind as my other one. Good. Or does. I'm just going to stick my hand in there with the lathe off, of course, and just feel how the curve is coming. So it's a little high still in the center, and there's a bump right there. So that will allow me to get a good start on my next cut. It's right there. There's a little ridge, and it's a little flat in the bottom still. I need to bring my tool all the way around this way and pick up that cut. Make sure you let the tool do the work. Don't try to force it. Don't want to try to force a tool into the wood because you are working when you're getting down into the bottom here. Oh, that curve came out really nice. So I need to clean this up just a little bit. Once you get down in this area right here and your tool is going in this direction, you're cutting into end grain straight into it, which is pretty hard on a tool, and it dulls it kind of quick. So you want to take your time, take a slow cut. There's no race for this at all, but I got a really nice curve in there now. Just a little high spot there, a little bit there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab me a scraper, bowl scraper. Yeah, I use scrapers, nothing wrong with it. This is called a French curve type of scraper there, and you can follow the curve all the way around your bowl just like this, and it'll clean up any harsh tool marks and straighten out any humps or bumps that might be into that curve right there. So, one thing I forgot to mention too, you want to raise your tool rest a little higher because you do need to use this tool with the handle up in this position here. If you can look in the little window there, you can see how I've got my tool just a little bit up, just like that. You don't want to use it this way or you're asking for a pretty good catch. If it grabs, you're going to be coming way up with your handle and might hit your mouth and might blow your bowl apart even. But these, all they have is a small burr on them. And I do that on my grinder. First thing I do is I take a credit card type grinding stone and I just take the old burr off before I put a new one on, and just take it across the wheel once. Because if you take it across multiple times, you're just adding burr on top of burr on top of burr, and you're not going to get such a clean cut with it to do that. So I'm just going to start in the middle here. And you can just, I'm gonna start on that side here and see how it goes. You can see how fluffy those shavings coming off are. That tells me I got a really nice burr on this. And don't forget to keep your handle raised up. That vibration is kind of normal when using a scraper on the outside rim of your bowl there. The wood's just vibrating because there's not much left of it. We're going to take and have another. Your hands can tell you a lot about how the bowl feels. So I just got the tiniest little, whatever you call those little bits that show up in the bottom of your bowl, just a little dimple there. So I'm going to come in with my same scraper here. I'm going to come up from underneath it and then come back towards yourself. Up and over, and it usually gets rid of those nipples pretty quickly. Okay, so it's just got a tiny little bit left. So I'm just going to clean that up. One more time here, up and over. Okay, so it is getting a little grabby. It's probably because the burr is kind of getting worn down. So I got a ton of tools here, so I'm going to grab me a smaller, same type of scraper here. Got a fresh burr on it. A bit of a high spot there, so I'm going to get rid of that real quick. And hands can tell you a lot when it comes to more than your eyes can when it comes to making bowls and the curves associated with them. A little bit right there. That's just a, just go back and forth and check all this stuff as you go. Causing what your hands can tell you when it comes to making a bowl. There we go. Feels really nice. Anything that needs to be done can be done with sanding now. And I'm just going to clean this up. So I'm going to come in and do a nice little shear cut with my gouge and clean. It's got a sharp edge and I want it the bead to kind of flow into the bowl. I'm going to grab me my heavy duty detail gouge. It's pretty thick. And just do a nice little shear cut here, gentle. Send it back and forth. I think it left a little bit of a divot right there, so I'm going to come back with my bowl gap, my paper. I'm just going to clean up that little bit of a, like a divot right there for some reason. So I'm going to grab that small scraper here. I can get rid of that nice and easy into the wood. There we go. You can see how fluffy these shavings coming off are, which is a sign of a good burr. So anything else, the sandpaper would just take care of all that. I can show you how I reverse turn it if you like. That would require a little more of a setup, and I don't know how much time I've already used.
Oh, you're fine. Go ahead.
All right. Let's see if I can use my truck for this. I might be able to. rather use my vacuum truck, but that might take a second to hook up. So you guys want to see me use a vacuum truck? I could hook that up real quick.
Sure, go ahead.
All right. You guys can talk amongst yourselves while I prepare all this, or I can answer questions while I'm setting all this up real quick. It won't only take a minute.
Group, do we have any questions?
Yeah, I have one. When he sharpens that scraper, is he sharpening it upside down to give it a bigger burr, or is he doing it the right side up, you know, with the top against the
Side up.
right side up? Okay.
Yes, sir. I use
Gives it a
flat
smaller
plate.
burr.
Yeah. And really turning it upside down doesn't give you much of a difference in burr. Contrary to popular belief, it does not create a different burr or anything else. I mean, you could create a large burr with it straight up or upside down, doesn't matter.
It's a can of worms.
Let me plug this thing in.
Yeah, on the scraper, it really does make a difference taking that diamond card and flattening the surface, getting rid of the old burrs prior to putting it on the wheel and getting the new burr on it. It's akin to working on a plane iron. It really does make a difference.
I've seen a lot of woodturners, they just take it and they don't think about that, and they just take it to the grinder, and it's like that old burr is still there, and what you're doing is you're creating two burrs, and the original burr is just, you know, it's turned to crap after all that.
Yep.
If you've used it already, and then you're dealing with a really jagged burr and a fresh burr right behind it.
What do you think about using? What do you think about using a hard piece of metal, you know, like a round stock, to create that burr?
Yeah,
Kurt
I've used the carbide one, sure. You could do that.
Lee Valley Veritas. Lee
Yeah.
Valley Veritas used to sell a burnish sharpener that would do just what you asked.
Yeah, I
It
have
had
that.
a cone-shaped pin.
Let me grab some.
Now, that's good for freshening up that burr after you have like Dane said, you knock off that top and then you roll a micro burr on it with that little burnisher.
Yep.
Yeah, or you could use one of these burnishers.
Yep.
This is more for like the flat kind of scraping
Card file.
scrapers, hard scrapers,
Hard
but they
scrapers.
work good for putting a really detailed small burr on a scraper if you're really looking for that, just that hint of a cut.
You can make
But-
one out of hardened steel or make one out of an old punch.
Yep. Cobalt punch.
Yeah.
Or pick one up at the cooking store. Because people in the butcher business don't sharpen tools, they hone them with
That's right.
that steel.
Yeah. You could also use the card hone to hone it.
Use
Alright.
what?
You could also use a small card hone just to hone it quickly, just to get back to turning before you have to really regrind it.
Right. Yeah, your diamond card.
Yeah.
I hate grinding this, throwing my steel on the floor. I just hate
Amen.
grinding.
Yeah. Same here.
I need to bring up my tailstock center to get this centered on right.
I was teaching an attorney, not picking on attorneys. I was teaching an attorney and his wife how to turn. And I swear every week he'd put a 1/4 inch of his gouge on the floor.
Wow.
Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm just using my center. I'm gonna put a little divot in there. My tail center, I'm just using it to center it up. Under my vacuum chuck. I need to put a little bit of divot right in the center here. Keep that point to there. Should have marked this before I reverse turned it the first time. Sometimes it's easy to forget that type of thing. So now I'm just gonna bring this up. Get it line up straight. I'll turn on the vacuum. We got pressure. Oh yeah, it's running really true. Yay, I got it the first time. I'm gonna check the pressure, make sure I got enough before I remove it. So it's almost at 20, which is a really good pressure for a small bowl like this. And this is the magic of it. Ah, it just stays. You just gotta make sure that you remember that this is on a vacuum. You do not want to turn fast or take deep, fast cuts.
We can't see it.
Oh, yep. All right. So there we go. See, it's hanging on there on the vacuum. 20 pounds of pressure, atmospheric pressure. It's not the same as a air compressor pressure. How a vacuum works, it's not the vacuum that's holding it. The vacuum leaves a negative cavity in here, and the atmosphere that you and I breathe is the pressure that's actually holding this on. Because it's leaving a vacuum inside this whole system here. It's not sucking air, it's just drawing the atmosphere against this. It's a very interesting thing to talk about and get into if you're into that kind of thing. So what I want to do is I want to just create a nice foot on here. I'm going to take it easy and not really high speeds. Okay, so it's out around just a little bit, but it's going to be close enough for demo purposes here.
Pressure of 20, you're talking about 20 inches of mercury.
I'm sorry?
The pressure you gave was 20. I assume that's inches of mercury.
Yes. Yeah, it's not like 20 inches of PSI out of a compressor. Completely different.
14.7 pounds of atmospheric pressure at sea level.
Yeah.
But inches of mercury, that's about 29 at sea level.
If you can get like 20 pounds of mercury pressure on it, you're doing really good. So I'm going to just make some nice, easy cuts here. Came out, became loose a little bit. So let me redo this, with the tailstock in it for a little longer. Yeah, it did come out a little bit. Right, real quick. Now just leave the tailstock up there as long as I can and then take it off.
I don't see much of an advantage for a vacuum chuck over a jam chuck and a tailstock support.
I can answer that. I
Okay,
turn a lot of natural edge pieces.
yeah,
Very difficult to use a jam chuck when your edge of your piece is very uneven.
no, I mean, it goes inside the bowl or the vessel, not on the edge of it.
Like a pressure chuck, you use the tailstock for pressure against the sacrificial piece that follows the curve of the bowl.
There you
Yeah,
go.
but then you still have a bit, if you're just holding it in with tailstock pressure, then you still have a bit that you can't turn because the tailstock's there.
You do, but it's easy to take off.
Yeah,
Right.
you can turn it down to a 1/16 of an inch if you leave enough tenon. That's how I
But
do
you're
mine.
right about that. Vacuum chuck is a lot easier though too. It's very quick.
I've got a chuck.
I
I
love
love
mine.
finish off the bottom of the bowls.
Yeah, I love mine. I use it all the time.
You know
Although
what? I sit on the
fail-
middle of the fence. I
fail right
love mine.
I
And the
just
people-
find it really expensive for what it really is. So you can
Yeah.
actually do it without.
Right, that's mean.
You make a lot of bowls. It makes more sense to have a vacuum chuck. Because you can just pop these on, you got a whole bunch of these bowls that need the bottom stud, and you can just pop them on, pop them on, pop them on. But the jam chuck, you have to make sure each one fits right.
Yeah, I don't know. I use the same jam chuck on every bowl. It seems to work pretty good. So anyway, I'm sure there's advantages. I like what I'm doing.
Well, there's no problem with that.
Okay, I wouldn't mind having a jam chuck showdown. Really. I like my jam chuck. I've got a Ron Brown's Best chuck that goes on. It will accomplish almost the same thing, but a little bit softer. And I've got a vacuum chuck I absolutely love when I'm doing small pieces of medallions and such. So let's do a showdown. What do you think?
Sure. I'll bring mine. I can't demonstrate it, but I'll bring it.
Hey, let's let him finish the demo and then we can discuss that.
Yeah.
As you can see, the ball is hanging on this time. It's not moving at all. That time, I got a catch. I did. You got a good catch.
You didn't lose the center.
But you saved it. It didn't become birdwood.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, the vacuum did save it, didn't it?
By using too large of a tool on it, and I brought it up. It caught. So I still got that point, so I can just center it right back up.
That Ashley's got some nice figure in it.
Nice, isn't that? It's really pretty wood. It was I didn't get that quite right.
Nice curl.
Yeah, right.
This was
Yeah, it's gonna have some nice shadowings once you put your finish on.
Oh,
This
yeah.
was grew. I planted this tree quite 2 years ago. I had to take it down 2 years ago. It got a fungus in the branches, and it was just slowly dying. So unfortunately, I had to take it down.
Yeah, at least it's not sitting in a dump.
No, I've gotten a lot of really pretty pieces out of it. So I'm really happy that I was able to have it sort of live on,
Right.
Might not be on the property anymore, but it's in my house. So there's not much left to take off here.
There it is. John Combs. Oh,
Now, if you wanted to do a little bit of a detail on the bottom of a ball with a vacuum chuck, let's give this a try. Add a little flare to the foot, just a little bit with the parting tool. Nice gentle cut. Back with my hole gouge here and kind of clean this up a little bit, take it easy slow. I'm going to reverse turn it for a second. So I can come up into this area here, clean up that tool a little bit. And now that's difficult to do with a jam chuck. You guys can see that nice foot in there.
Yes.
Having a jam chuck, using a jam chuck, you have to do this, you have to have one that the jam chuck seats on it holds it tight without using the tail center. Otherwise, it's hard to get your tools in there to do that kind of work. And to go even a step further, got a little bit of a couple lines in here. Now watch this. Get my little elf tool out here. A little bit of a flower in the center. Come out here and put a little bit of the detail. See how that came out. Probably not too much, but probably going a little bit. You can see the flower right there in the center, right there. You see that? Right there. Well, that's partly why I wanted a vacuum chuck, so I could really dress up the bottom of my feet of my bowls. You know, most people won't see it, but a lot of people, when they pick up a bowl, they turn it over to see what it looks like on the bottom. All right. That's how I create a bowl with a bead on it. You guys can see there. There we go. And it's got that nice little flower on the bottom. I don't know if you guys can see that in this light, unfortunately. Now you can see it. You guys can see that right there.
Yeah, we can see it. Nice.
Yeah, it's got a nice little foot on there. It's going to sit nice on the table. Just needed sanding, and that would have been it. So, all right. So that would be my demo for tonight. Hope you guys
Thank you.
hear what I was saying, because I was using an overhead mic instead of my usual one. But
No, you're
Nice
fine.
job.
It was good.
Great job, Scott.
Good job,
oh,
Scott.
you're welcome. You're quite
So,
welcome.
So group, is there any questions, comments?
Be careful about talking about his microphone problem, because we don't want to lose this demonstrator, all right?
I'm not going anywhere.
Thank you. It was really great.
I enjoy
you're
watching
welcome.
Scott.
Very good.
And so this should go hand in hand with the bowl challenge for the month of January.
Yeah.
Making a bowl less than 6 inches, one participation qualification, and then another bowl larger than 6 inches. And so I think this is a good demo on showing on how to get that desired shape, that outside curve, and then the corresponding internal curve to match.
Now this one came out almost 5 3/4. So not bad.
No, not bad at all. What'd you wind up for your thickness, walls?
Oh boy, I have to get my calipers out to check that. Let me see here.
Calipers. You're like Tim Hatch, read newspaper through it.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see right there. Oh, what did I do with that stupid roller? Come here, roller. It is. I didn't go really thin with it. It's about 3/8 of an inch. So not too
That
bad.
works. That's
Yeah.
in the range.
It's between 3/8 and 1/4 inch, somewhere in there.
Yeah, it's a good cereal bowl.
Yes, it is. Got a nice shape on.
Hey, Eddie, you could put your steel cut oats in that.
Yeah. You know, my wife would like me to do that rather than leaving it in a Tupperware.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do with this bowl is I'm going to, tomorrow or the next day, I'm going to go ahead and sand and finish it, because it's, you look, it's got ripple in it.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
got the-
Oh, it's got some
Great.
great character.
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful piece of wood, yeah.
Yeah.
This isn't just a throwaway bowl. I'm going to clean it up and finish it up, and I'll show you guys next week how it came out. So.
Right on.
Okay. Hey, Scott.
Awesome.
Scott. Scott,
Yeah.
go back to the other view and bring your ball back to the, all right. The beauty of the, all right, I'm not gonna beat the drum here. The beauty of that vacuum chuck is, hold it up there like you had it before. Hold it, all right. But you want to redo the inside, turn it around.
And you can.
There you go.
Yep.
If you've got a good seal on your vacuum chuck and you use a plate to line up the side where his right hand is, and that could be a face plate on your tailstock, bring it up to get the alignment. There you go. You can do the inside and the edge of the outside, and it's right in front of you.
Yeah,
that's
that's
how
an advantage of a vacuum chuck, sure.
Yeah, because it just needs sanding on the inside, so this would be great for that. Absolutely great for that. I'll sand the outside first, and then I'll reverse it, and I'll sand the inside and apply a nice oil finish to it, and it's gonna look gorgeous.
Yeah,
And if y'all looking to buy that ring for the vacuum chuck, it's in the hardware on aisle 3, right-hand side. Because that's the plumbing part he's got up there.
It is. It is. And the foam you get at the craft store, so that thin foam that the kids like to cut out and put stuff on, make stuff out of it. Yep. So
Scott,
yeah,
thank
If you're in a
you.
hardware
Thank you. I
store,
really
you'll find
enjoyed
a
that.
sealant.
yeah, you should do that too. Sure.
It's a sealing pad you use for gas cleaning things, and they sell it in 6 8-inch squares, and it's handy for cutting out for that.
I'll find this place to live.
Well, it's been a great demo, Scott. Really appreciate it, sir.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Scott.